Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Career Retrospectives, right here on the Super Review Show. I am joined by my two good co-hosts and good friends, Kyle and Mike. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Just kidding, no ladies here. Sorry, we're off to a terrible start.
No, Mike's right here. It's fine.
Oh, Kyle, you're gonna pay for that.
Sorry, it's 2020, Mike. I never know anymore. 2022.
I'm gonna digitally punch you in my fist.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Well, as the title of this podcast video suggests, we did the impossible, ladies and gentlemen. We broke down and are doing a career breakdown and album ranking of the heavy metal band Asking Alexandria. Heavy metal might be an understatement there, but that's okay. We're going to get right into it with our initial impressions of the band and stuff. I'm actually going to let Kyle go first on this one because this was his suggestion because it was his birthday yesterday. I wanted him lead off the show a little bit tonight.
Woo!
Yeah. Ooh, happy birthday, Kyle.
Woo!
Yeah.
Happy birthday to
Mike,
you.
copyright. Come on.
No, that's in the public domain.
All right.
It is public domain. You are right.
Happy birthday to you.
Now, Mike, I need you to scream the happy birthday song.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get Rob.
So, Asking Alexandria, honestly, top 5 band for me, has been since the day Stand Up and Scream came out. That was my first introduction to them, completely randomly on the day it came out. One of my best friends at the time, he had gotten the CD from Hot Topic of all places. He was like, oh, my other buddy was telling me about this. He picked it up, listened to it, and I was hooked. Turns out that was the release date of the record. Been a huge fan since then throughout all the albums. Easily top 5 band for me. Really enjoy to see the progression here and excited to talk about it.
Awesome. Mike, you got anything before we get going and whatnot? Or
No, it's I've known of the band, and it's funny because there's a couple key elements that kept me from listening to them. It's a genre that I find is very crowded with lots of bands. If you got into this band, you didn't get into that band. You know what I'm trying to say? It was just like, I have 3 bands that kind of are very similar to them, so I don't need to listen to them because I kind of got everything I was looking for with those bands. So certain bands got left behind, and I feel like Asking Alexander was one of those bands for me. And there's a couple other key elements that kept me from listening to them. But I'll get more into that. But it's nice to finally be able to listen to the band that I see everybody wearing their t-shirts at every show I go to. If I had $1 for every Asking Alexandria t-shirt I saw at a concert, I'd be a rich man, and I wouldn't be doing this podcast. Sorry guys, I will be rich. No, okay, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. We're not even monetized yet. We're not even monetized. Forget about it. But yes, live. Yes. I'd be hitting everyone with Cash App, and I'd just be walking around just paying people on the street because I'd be rich. But I just always seen the shirts, knew they were part of that genre, but just never got a chance to get into them. So yeah, excited for it.
so it's funny, everyone. Before our broadcast night happened, and before we started the show tonight, and just doing this. This was Kyle's suggestion to me, and for those of you who have watched me or listened to me in any period of time, I have no idea who this group was until we started. Until we agreed to do this one for this week. Oh my God, that's the only thing I have to say is just like, wow, what a 180 from what I normally listen to into. Well, we'll get into a lot of it in a little bit. I just got to tell you right up front, I was like, this was as far of a left field choice for me as you could possibly imagine. I was like, I think the word that I used, I texted them was, my ears are bleeding at one point. I wasn't sure. It was so out of left field for me. Like, literally Mike is showing his ears bleeding. This was an out of left field pick for me. It was not my wheelhouse per se, but because it was Kyle's birthday, I decided to be a good friend and let him pick this choice. But that's okay though. It's all good. But anyways, that is my little introduction to them, and they've gone into their introduction. Let's go into their Wikipedia page here and let's talk to them about. I didn't realize they were British until now. That's crazy. The more you know. But let's get into their first album, and I have all of them pulled up for everyone. So if you're listening to us, just sit back, relax. If you're not listening to us and you're watching us, enjoy the show. Here we go. So their debut album came out in 2009, September 15th, 2009. I guess Kyle was talking about this before he got the.
That hurts. That hurts.
He's like, yeah, I feel old. The old shame is coming out right now. He's like, oh no, but no, but
he feels old. Yeah.
I feel old too. I just turned 24 in October. It's crazy. Anyways, their debut album was Stand Up and Scream from 2009. Who would like to go first? Any pickers? Any takers? Anyone? Or
I'll take it.
All right, cool.
Like I said, this record, I actually got it the day it came out. Fell in love with it. The amount of knockoff bands that this record created cannot be understated. After this album came out and blew up, every metalcore band out there just said, this is what we're going to do. This is the sound we're doing. We're doing the exact same thing. Just a bunch of chugging guitars, screaming, and then a random electronic breakdown in the middle of the tracks. And it stayed that way for years. Asking Alexandria was really, for the while there, you wouldn't know it so much these days, but for a while there, they were one of the biggest bands around. Like everywhere you went, they were covered in every magazine. They were all over. That's changed in recent years. A lot of that probably attributed to a change in sound that we'll get into. But this record cannot be understated. I mean, the final episode, Not the American Average, which they do not play live anymore for good reason. I'll say I love the song, but lyrically it's pretty atrocious. I mean, everything, A Prophecy on here, and the music videos too. You can't get away from the Prophecy music video that spawned even more music videos of drummers smacking drums with water on them. Excellent album. One of really a turning point in the metalcore genre as a whole. After this, metalcore bands kind of went one of two ways. Like Mike said, this did lead to quite a bit of an oversaturation in the market here. Bands either went towards this direction of the sound, or they went more with the traditional metalcore style, like your Killswitch Engage type things, which I know Mike is he leaned more into that aspect of the genre. But so I mean, that's my initial thoughts on this record. Incredible album. Really this actually got me into the heavier side of metal. I can attribute this album to that. Actually, this and Bring Me the Horizon Suicide Season. So I have that to thank for getting me into that. Before this, heaviest I went was like Bullet for My Valentine.
All right, Mike, why don't you go?
So this album it's interesting. It's almost like the more extreme side of Asking Alexandria for me is kind of a mess, in that it's the kind of metalcore structure, the type of breakdowns they use, the type of vocal over vocal technique where it's like deep vocal over harsh vocal, the electronic breakdown thing. All these things that come into play in this album are a mess to me, and it's too much. Like, it's almost like the breakdowns take me out of the rhythm of the song because they are on purpose kind of off note. They're almost done to a way, and so many other bands copied off this style after this album. These albums came out after this band kind of blew up. They all kind of did it, and those bands I didn't like. I did not like this style of metalcore, and it was just a mess for me. And it's funny, people are like, oh, you're into the extreme metal, so you're gonna like this album. Not particularly. It's got the elements that I like without the execution that I like. It employs a lot of tactics that I find off-putting and cause me to skip songs. So starting off as their opening album, I would like to give it points for just being an innovator of its own style of what it brought. but unfortunately it's the style I don't really care for. So it's almost like I applaud it for being itself, but I was on the other side going, like it does what it does well, but just not what I hope for it to do well. So yeah, other than that, that was just, it's just my general assessment of the album.
Fair enough. So forgive me if my throat gets clogged up, whatever. Oh my god. It's my turn to talk about this.
It's
my turn to
turn.
talk about this album. Oh my god. So
The one.
You thought Mike was the villain. The furry from the very I can't stop laughing. From the very, very, very first opening chords of the song, I'm gonna butcher it. Illyrion, right? Is that how you say that? I was like,
keep going.
all right. I was like, what the living hell am I listening to? Because full disclosure, I love me some Slipknot. I love me my core form, Metallica, Anthrax, and all that stuff. This was a different level, and I was like, I felt like a virgin, like in the middle of like something going on. I was like, what is happening here? I was like, oh my god! I remember being in the car listening to this, and I was like, what the hell? It was so so. And
did you bring your mom and dad along too?
Honest to God, no. I was, believe it or not, I was on my way to my grandparents, believe it or not, to make things worse. But no, but this was a new level of heavy for me, ladies and gentlemen. I was like, I almost, my jaw was like just jaw dropping. Jesus Christ, a human being can make these types of noises with their mouth and their guitars. I was like, literally, I'm sorry to all the hardcore metalheads out there who are like listening to this on a daily basis.
Boo!
No. Hear me out. I was like, when I first listened to this, I was like, oh my god, what have I done? but I have to tell you the truth though. As a debut album, to Mike's credit and to Kyle's credit, I haven't listened to it. I can't say that in that aspect, but I could see where it spun off and made other different types of subgenres of metal or metalcore to that aspect. But for my personal taste and my personal knowledge of music as a whole, I was like, oh my god, I feel like my ears are going to blow up. It's like I was just
not a fan of the 0-1 breakdowns there, huh?
No, it was so like it wasn't just that I wasn't just a fan. I was just like almost like starstruck in the wrong way. It was really weird to put like that. I was just like, oh my god, this is metalcore. Like, wow, this is very
more like death.
than,
I would say it's like deathcore-ish. I mean, you could say it's metalcore, but it definitely combined deathcore elements with metalcore and a lot of other things. And I think it did. I think that's why it was received so well, is that deathcore was kind of coming into its form and it needed something interesting.
Deathcore was kind of hit its peak at that point where people were starting to get a little sick of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, you guys are in that and I didn't really know anything about that in particular. So
yeah,
that's where I was like, oh my god.
Post-hardcore is what they're calling it, but
yeah, something like that. Yeah,
I still think it leads more into metalcore just based on this is kind of a turning point in the metalcore genre that it turned this record and this band turned metalcore into this sound for a good 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's kind of gone into like a more new metal sound, the metalcore genre. They went like a new metal, like gen sound that I'm not the most into. I'm more of a fan of this. Yeah, but heavier.
Oh, like heavier than
like you check out like I Prevail's last couple records. That's
okay.
They've fallen into a lot of it sounds pretty generic. Not that this, doesn't compared to the fact that every other band started to sound like this for a good 5+ years.
A lot of bands. I haven't delved into them personally, but I'm sure that there's plenty of other sub bands that like listen to this and like, all right, maybe I can like tweak this and do it like the musically. They're like, all right, let me try something different like that. But that, yeah, I could see that. It's just, but for me, I was like, just kind of
And
closing
let's
my.
not forget the neon cartoon monster shirts that were all over the place for this genre. Just random cartoon monsters and random neon fonts and colors that had nothing to do with the songs or the bands. But wow, what a time
The
to
shirts
be
I
a metal fan.
hated when I went to show.
Yep.
Those are the shirts I hated the most. I was like, thanks.
I had a couple of them.
Alexandria. You just made it. Oh,
Yeah.
boo.
Boo! He's bringing the child in wrong direction. Anyways, no, but I mean, but to close out my thoughts, I was like, and when it was over, like when the album, when I finished the album, I was like, what the hell did I just listen to? Like, I was still
needed a nap.
I no, I didn't just need a nap. I needed some melatonin with my nap. I was like, oh my god,
I need some melatonin.
I need some melatonin with my nap. And are we going through the track listing just out of curiosity, or
no? We can just probably just do ranking, right?
Yeah, let's go right to rankings.
Just do stuff like that. Okay, cool.
I mentioned the songs I thought were the most important ones. So
yeah, all right. I wasn't sure how you guys wanted to do that tonight or not, but yeah, my face is getting red.
I want your ranking on this first. Let's see.
Me too.
Oh no.
Me too.
Oh. So given the
hashtag me too.
Hashtag me too. Hashtag me too.
Yeah, that's it.
Anyways, no. But, well, man. So oh my god, I lost my train of thought already, and we're already on the first album. Oh god. All right. Anyways, I digress. So if I'm putting this out of the 7 albums they've released, and out of the entire ranking of all of the albums, don't kill me, everyone, but I put this at the very bottom at number 7 because, yes, it did a lot. This prepared me for what was to come, but this was like an in shock, like literally, like I was like deer in the headlights, like, oh God, what's next kind of thing. But at least I was ready for what was to come. This was like an eye-opening experience. This is my number 7. Don't kill me. Oh,
so I'll take it next. Just a little peek behind the curtain here, just for fun. I wrote down what I think both of their predictions are going to be for this. Just see how well I know them. So far, I'm 1 for 1. I was correct, dead on with where JT would put that.
Oh my God.
For me, I love this record. It's not the best thing that they've ever done. I'm putting this at number 3.
Okay.
Number 3, easily. They've done things better. They've done things significantly worse. And we'll get to that.
Mike.
Hey. Yeah, so for me, this was out of the 7 albums they did, number 4. This was pretty much
Mike,
like heavy
4?
and everything I wanted. 4, yeah. 4.
Oh my God, I'm 2 for 2.
Damn, man, Kyle, you're freaking good. I was off on you. I thought you were gonna go 2 for this, Kyle, but you went 3, which is it just, it's in a way it's a lot like, hey, here's what's to come, but like we can get our structure better. We can get our songwriting better. We're in a lot of ways we're just showing off all of the cliches that the genre has to offer, and like what we're bringing to the table and what we're gonna make our sound and what's gonna kind of be influential. But it's failing to be able to put it all together and make it more coherent. It's like somebody showing off all their tricks at once and being like, yeah, what did you think? And you're like, and I actually was thinking about this. I'll actually do a whole wrap up on all the albums and how like this one feels like a young kid. This one feels like an adult kid. This one feels like a guy who's hitting his midlife crisis.
Well,
and this one
remember
feels like somebody who's trying to yeah, right. Literally, you can see
at this point
the progression. So yeah, so 4 for me.
Kyle is so far. He is. Sorry, I'm just taking notes of stuff as we go into. But Kyle is currently. Wow, he's actually 2 for 2 now. That's crazy.
Yeah, 2 for 2.
Damn.
He's guessing our
Spot
rankings
on.
early. Damn. All right. Anyways, let's go to their second album, which was, if I can get it right here, just making sure. Reckless and Relentless.
Yep.
In 2011. Oh man.
I'll take this too.
Okay, sure.
So not only is this my favorite metalcore record of all time, hands down, without a doubt, it is also one of my favorite albums ever. I never get sick of this one. This one,
oh wow,
I really found them coming into their own style. They went away from that, for the most part, electronic elements. They still had it, but they went away from needing to lean on it constantly. Danny Worsnop really came into his own as a vocalist on this one. And Danny Worsnop, if you haven't heard this man's range outside of Ask Alexandria, he's one of the best vocalists in any genre right now. I mean, the man, so he's done solo records that are country. He's done an R&B and blues inspired record, all phenomenal. His screams are incredible, and I think that this is where he really started to hit his stride. What I really love about this is it brought back that 80s hair metal attitude, that rock star attitude that was missing for years, and it's yet again completely missing from pretty much any artist. I don't see anyone with that attitude anymore, and I really enjoy it. I think that makes fun music to listen to. That's why I loved all the 80s hair metal, your Motley Crues, and this encompassed that again. For me, I mean, songs like, and it has their heaviest song they've ever done on here. Morte Dabo is by far the heaviest thing they've ever released. But I mean, songs like To the Stage, Closure, but it also, for the first time, showed their more rock tendencies on this tracks like Someone Somewhere, which one of my favorite songs of theirs. Still, I don't know if it's a live staple anymore. They do play it pretty often still, though. It's one of the only tracks that they still play live from this record, and it's incredible. The title track, Reckless and Relentless, not a bad song on here. It flows so well front to back. I could go on forever about this record, but I'll turn it over to someone else now.
JT.
Oh no! I'm just kidding. Right. So yes, to me, he's like already like, right, where do we go from here? So for me, following the craziness and madness that was Stand Up and Scream, this one was more of a double down a little bit for me. I was like, still like, oh my god, this is heavy, this is post-hardcore, this is metal. I was like, oh my god. But there were some differences, which I did like. Some of the ones that Kyle touched on, I thought actually was actually true, for the most part. And I'm just gonna come out and say it. I put this at my number 3. Did I get this right? Did he get it right? Let's see. If he got it right, I'm gonna flip out.
No.
I
got that one very wrong.
Okay. Anyway, this is my number 3. Surprisingly enough, I liked it more than I thought I would, given the craziness of the first one. For me, like, that's the word I'm going to use, but just craziest. But I did like it more than I thought I would, which was surprising. I mean, when you're listening to a song for the first time or an album for the first time, it's always good to have like an open mind, of course, an open like context of whatnot. But I have to say, going into this record, I listened to the first one. Now let me get into the second one, and this one was just a little bit more like, okay, I understood where they were coming from as far as their sounds go and stuff like that. It made more sense for me as time progressed on, and as we will, not spoiling anything, but as we progress on through the albums and through my ranking personally, this was a testament to say, all right, it changed things up a little bit for me personally. That's it. But yeah, I just different vibe, a different impression on me, which made me put it at number 3 personally. That is me. Mike, what do you got?
Yeah, so you can begin to see the change over here, more interesting tricks in the bag, less leaning on the kind of cliche stuff that they were doing in their previous album, less of the techno parts. The horrible breakdowns are still there. I was counting them. If I hated every breakdown in the first album, I hated 10 out of 12 of these breakdowns. So it was like, oh, this one's actually kind of cool. Like, but I still hated their breakdowns, and I still hated kind of those parts that they like. I'm digging the song, the riff is good, and then it's breakdown takes me out of it, and then it's back to the riff. Cool, we're good, we're grooving. Back to that breakdown that just takes me out of it. Then the chorus is good. The choruses are much better in this than the previous album. The feeling of it feels a little more like it's willing to show off some rock parts and some other like showing that they kind of have some maturity involved. But it's still plagued with those. But there's enough riffing in this. There's enough headbanging parts to keep this alive, to outshine those bad breakdowns and those things that I just like. And and it's funny, it's almost like it redeems itself enough there to be better than maturing and having less of it, if that makes any sense. Like oh, we mature, we don't do that anymore, and that maturity would lead me to even like you less, because you still don't have the fun involved. And this is it's a fun album in that it has those fun riffs, those fun parts and whatnot. So for me, it's number 2 out of 7. I almost put it in 3. I would say it's very close to being 3, but just because it feels the most familiar to me of the genre that it belongs to. It's parts that remind me the most of it are in this album, and everything else outside of this album feel like it doesn't belong, like it's very different than what they are, which is okay, but it's the most familiar in the genre that they were a part of and are still a part of to a degree. So yeah, number 2 for me. A little bit better, obviously, with the stuff that they're doing in more diverse.
Well, you know what? Now you guys have taken my accuracy rate down to 50%. I put that number 1 for Mike.
Yeah. Oh wow.
I thought that was going to be your favorite, but I did flip flop that a couple times in my mind. But I thought you would go with. For me, obviously, that's my number 1. To make that official, it's my number 1. This was really what I think was the band at their peak. Like, this was peak popularity.
Yeah.
This was their time, and it was great. And I wish I could go back and hear that for the first time, but it still feels fresh every time I listen to it. And I want to point out, Joey Sturgis, one of the best producers out there. It's a shame he doesn't really do anything anymore. But all the records they've worked on with him are by far their best sounding ones. We'll get into that with later things, but got to give him a shout out. I love the production on this. So easily number 1.
All righty.
Nice.
All right. Jumping over to their next album, and as a fly goes on my laptop and I have to crush it. Sadly.
How metal.
Oh, PETA's gonna be on you, man.
Haters
someone cancel this man. Someone cancel this man.
I just killed a fly, everyone. I'm sorry. Anyways, From Death to Destiny, their 3rd record. Oh man, who went first last time? I forgot.
I went first the past couple times.
Kyle did, and you're gonna go first this one.
You're up, JT.
No. JT Tizzle made Tizzle, and then I'll go, and then Kyle can round it out. How about that?
Sure, let's do that. That's fine. I wasn't sure.
The blind review.
A blind review. Here we go. All right. Anyway,
JT, bring it down to the track list just so it's on display on the screen.
Sure.
There you go.
But yeah, From Death to Destiny. From coming off of the first 2, first one I was like, all right, what the hell is this 2? All right, I can understand where they're going. To me, this album took what they did on the previous record and they they took out like a lot, whatever didn't work on the first record for whatever reason. You know, some of the, I felt that whatever they took off of the, I just had it perfectly worded in my head. Forgive me. Whatever they took, whatever they thought might have not worked on the previous record, they took out and they doubled down on what did work for this record. This actually, this is a surprise for me again about how much. I mean, I enjoyed what I heard. I mean, I cannot. I mean, it was still very like, you know, still metalcore, still hard guitar and all that stuff. Again, very, very out of my wealth of knowledge of music and stuff like that. But in general, though, I have to tell you, this was a bit of a surprise about how, first off, how high I put it too, but just a progression of their sound. As Kyle said, it was in their peak. I mean, I'm not familiar with that, but I'm going off what Kyle said. Kyle said in their peak, coming off of that, like the popularity, I guess you could say, of the previous record, they kind of doubled down and they said, let's almost redo what we did before, but do it better. And that's kind of what I got from this personally. But that's just me where I have it in my own mind. Go to rank it too. Do you guys want to go? Do you guys want to share your thoughts too? Like, do you want me to share my ranking?
Yeah, you just go straight for your ranking.
Yeah,
all right, cool. All right. So again, look, I'm just, as I said, they kind of like doubled down on what did work, and they took out the stuff that did not work for me, at least. Coming off of the first two records, going to this one, I want to see if Kyle got this right. This is actually my number one.
No.
I was trying so hard there, buddy.
That's really surprising for me, honestly. No.
I know. It sounds like so out of left field. He's like, oh, well, I'm questioning all of them.
Damn it.
No. I tried. You're gonna have to show us initially what you had at the end. You know?
I will.
Yeah, you're like, oh, this is what I'm thinking. Yeah. But yeah, anyways, I thought this is what they doubled down on the good, and they took out more of they took out whatever bad they may have had, and they made this album what we have here. Mike, why don't you go next?
Yeah. So, kind of. So, you know, going back, you got their crude and kind of just in your face kind of beginning, the young kind of kids that feel like they're just kind of coming into the genre, you know, Reckless and Relentless, showing off some more, just not the crazy riffs that don't follow a theme and put together in a song. You know, Reckless and Relentless definitely did that better. Death to Destiny for me, a huge improvement by a country mile to their previous album. If I could give you more of an idea, if Stand Up and Scream is a 5 in my ranking, and Reckless and Relentless is a 6.5, this is an 8 out of in comparison. The screaming vocals sound a little lower now. I really like that. Much less kind of they're clearer too. Like you can actually kind of hear what the guy is saying when he's screaming, which is cool. Songwriting's polished. I mean, man, I love that opening song. That song is great. It's actually a song that's joined my rotation of music at work, like when I'm playing music at work, and we're playing some heavy music over at the Home Depot, folks. Come on over for all your home improvement needs. But anyway, we're scaring some customers, folks. Hey, you know what? From Death to Destiny, baby. I love the name of the album. It is over. This is their best album, number one, baby. Like that's it. Like I really enjoyed most of, if not all, of this album, and I'm actually kind of surprised because I even love the name, love the theme of the look, yada yada yada. Like this is just it just has all I want from a metalcore act that is kind of fusing some of the elements from their previous work in with some of the newer sounds coming out, and which I kind of felt it would have reached a higher echelon if it took some of the riffing from Reckless and Relentless and kind of inserted it into Death to Destiny. Holy crap. Mm-hmm. This could have been much more higher on my list. Like that Reckless and Relentless riffing was like Reckless and Relentless. It was like basically like just, like metallic and sharp, whereas this one has some of that metallic and sharp riffing, but it kind of it definitely feels a little below some of the the other elements, the choruses, the drumming feels a little more concrete. Yeah, just overall for me, this is my number one album. I by the look of it, Kyle was disappointed by that, or
so
just
I'm
shocked that
disappointed.
he,
I'm disappointed because for the longest time I had this as my prediction for your number one, but I was like, you know what, I'm gonna swap them, and I did. So my mistake.
You doubted yourself, sir.
I did.
Never doubt the Kyle within you, and the Kyle within us all. So yeah, whatever that means.
So Mikey, does that wrap
Jay,
up
did you just take a small nap there? Or
does that wrap up your
What?
thoughts on it?
No, you're good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
All right, so
that's about all I gotta say.
I don't disagree with either of you. I love this record too. This was still like them height of their career, maybe slightly less popular, but still really one of the biggest bands around still. For me, this one took the metalcore style they were going with on the last record and mixed it with more classic rock style instrumentals, which I do wish that's what brings it down for me. I wish, like Mike said, they took those riffs from Reckless and Relentless and incorporated them more, because my favorite songs on here are the ones that do just that. Like Don't Pray For Me is an incredible song, probably my favorite
great
from here.
song. Yep.
Death of Me, great. Killing You, awesome. Poison has some Slipknot vibes for the first like 30 seconds, and I enjoy that. That's a great song. But where they lose me, Believe and Creature, I think is a pretty two weak songs there, and they're back to back, so I skip those most of the time. But White Line Fever is such a good rock track, and I adore that song. And Moving On, probably up to this point in their career, their best ballad. They still, that's a live staple to this day. Really showed where Danny Worsnop was at during the recording of this. Very shortly after this record, he would leave the band, as we'll get into on the next one. But man, that's one of his best vocal performances up to this point. Where they also lose me is Until the End, featuring Howard Jones. Howard is a amazing vocalist, but this is one of my least favorite Ask Alexandria songs of all time. Main reason is Howard's vocals don't go well here. His vocal stylings match. We talked earlier how there's the metalcore genre kind of split into two different segments around this time, where you had the ones that were still going with the kill switch style, and then the newer bands that were doing the more Ask Alexandria style. And I don't think the overlap is there. His vocals, I don't think, sound cohesive with Danny's here, and they sound out of place, and it really throws me out of it. And I don't think it's a great ending track. I think that Moving On should have been the ending track on here. All that said, absolutely incredible album. I've loved it since it came out. I put this one at number 2. It is just below, just because there's a couple fillers in there that I think that it's not as good as Reckless and Relentless for me. Lyrically, it's definitely deeper. It's more accessible to like more mainstream audience. Again, production, Joey Sturgis killed it yet again. That's where I'm at with that one. Number 2, super strong album, still one of the best in the metalcore genre. What I wish they would have continued with moving forward.
All righty, and on that note, we're gonna jump to their 4th album, which is called The Black. Nothing really super exciting in the title there. Just want to say it's just a very like plain title for me. That was what I got. But so I started last time. Mike, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Go ahead.
This one was harder to assess. For me, it was all over the place. as much as Kyle's a huge fan of Danny Worsnop's vocals, at times it's funny. The later on in this discography you go, the more I feel like he's trying to showcase his depth. And sometimes I find the showcase of the depth of the vocals doesn't always do anything for the music that it follows. So it's like if the vocals are on point, but the music is like, like it really it can't elevate itself. It needs to be run alongside good music. So the better his vocals got, the music seemed to kind of not follow suit. So after he left and kind of jumped on this, this kind of seems like still kind of going strong with the more type of like the stuff they're doing in the Death Destiny, but the vocals feel a little inconsistent, and they're definitely all over the place. And I could find some good things here. I really like this. I like that. But then it would kind of fall flat. It didn't seem like the choruses seemed like they were trying to achieve that really catchy kind of element, but they were just unable to really, like, I'm waiting for the chorus or I'm waiting for the part to come that just grips me, and it just doesn't. Like, so I kind of like, it felt very like a bumpy ride, but overall I still was enjoying the music more than I would on like Stand Up and Scream or like that kind of thing. But it still just seems like it's all over the place. For me, this is number 3. Still has a lot of those elements from Death to Destiny that I enjoy musically, structurally, song wise, change ups where the song changes up, starts off with the opening riff, and then it kind of comes into the chorus, and then it kind of like has a new part that kind of kicks in a good rhythmic headbanging part, and then comes back to the structure's still there. It still feels like they're mature in the songwriting. Like I said, the vocals were inconsistent. It's just weird. Are they talking about the previous vocalist on this album and how they're like, how the breakup happened? That's such a cringe thing to do. Like, talk about your personal. Oh my God, it just feels like something kids would do. Like, oh yeah, let's write a song and let's talk about like how we dislike that person on the song. I'm just like, I was shaking my head at that, and I was just like, my God, like that's so cringe. But yeah, the new vocals, he's not horrible, but like he's just not really bringing anything that I was like blown away at. Yeah, but I mean, overall, this actually wasn't too bad of an album. I still enjoy the sound on it, and just the elimination of some of the part things I hate, but it still does some of it. Like breakdown wise, they're still kind of ugly sounding, still not preferable, but not as bad as obviously like the old stuff. But yeah, number 3 for me.
I'm going to piggyback off that and go second here. JT, go down to the set list for me for anyone that's
the set list. I didn't know they're performing live.
Set list. Sorry, the track.
I'm just kidding. Don't worry.
So So Dennis Stoff, who took over lead vocals for about a year and a half here, he was previously in a band called Make Me Famous, who is one of the carbon copy As in Alexandria clones that came out very shortly after they blew up, to the point where they sounded almost identical. So having him take over here was a no-brainer. With that said, I don't think he filled the shoes very well, to the point where live they were actually using backing tracks of Danny's backing vocals, which was kind of awkward at this point, to the point where I think he had to issue them a cease and desist order. It's very odd. But if we're getting into the music here, it's not bad, but to me it just feels like a forced step back. Like it feels like they were like, well, Danny wanted us to go more rock with From Death to Destiny, so screw that guy, we're going back to like Reckless and Relentless. But it feels forced. It doesn't feel natural to me, and I think that's where a lot of my issues come into this. Also, I'm just not a huge fan of the tone of Dennis's vocals. He's also kind of a prick. He's been kicked out of just about every band he's been in. including Ask Alexandria. He tried to scam fans and everything like that. Again, Joey Sturgis production, amazing. It sounds great sonically. But again, Mike, I agree with you. It's very cringy. The songs where they're just straight up talking about Danny, which is a shame because the actual song that's on Sometimes It Ends is an incredible song. It's actually one of my favorites on here. And then Just a Slave to Rock and Roll, I really like that one. I could see Danny singing that one, like Reckless and Relentless era. Like that is pure
that's
Reckless and Relentless era Danny Worsnop. And I was like, that one, if they did ever play any of these live with Danny, it would be that one. I do enjoy they gave Ben Bruce lead vocals on Gone. I think it's a very nice song. Sad but very good. Undivided, musically it's great. But if we're getting into it again lyrically, it's just, oh, we're mad at Danny. Oh, screw that guy. And I was like, it's a bit corny. I don't know. For me, it does have some cool change ups throughout. I do like The Lost Souls has a cool change up at towards the end or toward the middle there. For me, this is my last number 7 for me. This is my least favorite.
Wow, I did not expect to hear that.
It's not. I'm not saying it's a bad record. It's just it's one that I don't find myself coming back to a lot. Part of the appeal of Asking Alexandria to me is Danny Worsnop's vocals. I love his vocals. He's by far the shining star of this band, if we're going to be honest. The others are all great. They're all great musicians, but he is definitely the star of the show. Without him, I don't think it held up as good. Even the ballads on here, I think those were the weakest on this. Was they try to do a couple like From Death to Destiny style ballads with things like Send Me Home and things like they were good, but it wasn't great. Dennis is good at the screaming vocals, those types of songs, and those ones sounded fine. But when they went to try to do the ballads, they kind of lost me. I don't go back to it very much. I do think that they should have just taken a little bit of a hiatus instead of Danny leaving and then getting a new vocalist. But that was more pressure from the record label being like, oh, you guys don't get a break. And that's what ultimately led to Danny leaving, was the label being like, no, you can't take a break. You're going to do this, this, and this. Oh, you just got off tour, make another record. And so, end of the day, I don't think it worked for me. Number 3, JT, where are you at on this?
So I'm looking at my list right now on my phone that I made, and I'm kind of in the middle of both of you guys, truthfully. My ranking is at number 5.
Woo! I got this one right for both of you.
Oh my God. Wow. Talk about a coincidence. I was like, just by chance. I was like, yo, guess what? No. I mean, for I'm not going to repeat too many of the points you guys listed off because I mean, we could go at it all day, or all night for this matter. But everything from, man, it's just every artist. If you listen to a certain number of albums, like up until a certain point in their career, certain mistakes happen, of course. And with the lead singer switch, you could just definitely tell that I didn't realize this until you said this actually about like the whole lead singer being switched off and whatnot. But now it makes more sense. Oh, they're talking, smack about him. Really? Like that's so childish. Like, why would they do that? To me, it doesn't make. It's kind of like weird to do that. I mean, why would you want to? Some people. Yes, Maroon 5 wrote a whole album called "Songs About Jane." Yes, but that was a different thing completely, of course. But if you look at it from that perspective, like, oh, they're talking smack, they're talking, a certain way about the previous singer, or whatever. Certain songs are there to do that, but for them to just flat out say like, oh, he's I forget the name of the guy you just said, but like to do that is just it's such like a low blow in my opinion. I put it, and also the music was good. It was questionably good. I guess you could say that the best way I could put that. But for those reasons, and I don't want to reiterate too many of the points you guys said, but I agree with a lot of the things you both said. But this is my number 5. It was just a lot of. It was different. You could feel it was a little bit different. And you're right, Kyle. The ballads were like a little bit like really like a metalcore band is doing a ballad like this. It was just a lot of questionable choices. This is my number 5, for lack of to get to the point.
And it's funny. I almost put this at my number 4. and put Stand Up and Scream at my 3, just to give Stand Up and Scream a acknowledgement of being the start and for what it is and all this stuff. But then I said to myself, I can't go around just like awarding imaginary points to the idea of something. It needs to, in my opinion, be enjoyable and be a starting point that's influential. It can't just be it can't just be one and make it into that high of a tier. So that's why I kind of ultimately push this one up and push Stand Up Screen before and the
participation trophies here.
No participation trophies, no imaginary points, no none of that. It's just,
one more thing I want to add on the era without Danny Worsnop was part of the like appeal and charisma of the band was the like friendship between Danny and guitarist Ben Bruce. In interviews and everything, they had such a good charisma and like great like relationship together and friendship that without it, the band felt very different in a bad way. It just certain artists are like that where you need your key components or it doesn't work. And I feel like they're one of those bands. It's like Motley Crue without Vince Neil. It doesn't work. They might make good music, but it's not the same.
Yeah, I mean, any other comments for the Black at all before we go into our next, their 5th album already? Wow.
Now let's go.
All righty, let's go. So, in the world of me liking everything that's title tracked and everything, let's talk about the title album to their band, Asking Alexandria, their 5th album called Asking Alexandria. Man. Anyone want to go first before I take it or no?
No, you take it.
All right, I'll take it.
Take it, man. Take that.
I'm gonna take it good. That's what she said. And you knew it was coming at some point. Anyways, I digress.
It was coming.
Oh God, we always have a good time on this show. Don't worry. In more ways than one. But no. Anyways, this album was like just different in a weird good way, I guess you could say, for me, because this was I don't want to say as far pop as they would go, but there are elements, and I'm not saying because it's on here, but when I listened to it, I was like, oh, there's more of a pop element in here and there. Like there's different elements to it in general that I truthfully liked a lot. I was more surprised about how much. I mean, definitely a step up from the Black, for me, but it was a different kind of vibe for the whole thing. Just and also the track, it was a solid like track listing of like how long it was in general. I mean, it was like a 45, almost 50 minutes long. Plus the deluxe edition has like a cover of Perfect by Ed Sheeran, which kind of like threw me off a little bit for a sec. I was like, what? But it was kind of cool. I know, right? Like, why would our metalcore cover Ed? I have no idea. But this was a surprise for me. I mean, for how like for what it was, I actually really enjoyed this album. That might seem like a surprise for some people or whatever, but I liked what I heard. I mean, I liked just about everything I heard on here. This is my number 2.
All right. Wow.
I don't know if Kyle got that right, but he might be surprised at that.
I was off by 1.
Yeah.
What did you have at number 3?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So he was in the ballpark. So
JT, if that wraps up for you, I'll take it from here.
Yeah, I'm good. I just overall, I mean, it was a pleasant surprise, and yeah, I put it as high as I did there at number 2. But yeah, go ahead, Kyle. What do you got?
So having Danny back, super hyped. I remember when this came out, when everything was announced, the teasers that were released off of it, they were very misleading at the time. They released the heaviest parts as teasers, and that's not what we got. I don't mind that. I still think it was a great record. Alone in a Room is top 5 Asking Alexandria song. Alone in a Room is a top tier song. Take Asking Alexandria off of it. It's an incredible track by anyone if anyone were to put it out. I think this record has a lot of really good songs. Like the good songs on here are really, really good. Alone in a Room, Into the Fire, Hopelessly Hopeful, Where Did It Go, Under Denver is great, and Room 138 is pretty great as well. It's the other songs that are very forgettable. They're not the best. They're pretty like mid. Like When the Lights Come On is, I will say it was better live than it is on the record. Vultures is kind of boring. I actually prefer the rock version of that. That was on the or the deluxe edition. Shockingly enough, the heaviest thing on here was the hidden track that was on the physical CD versions, Explicit, which was just a joke song, which was hysterical. Eve was very good. That was like their token heavy song of the record. But really, like the middle there, like Rise Up is When the Lights Come On, it just kind of felt uninspired at parts. My biggest issue is the production. Matt Good, he's a very talented guy. You know, I love his work with From First to Last. The album he did with Drugs back in the day was great. He's a nice guy. I met him before. Super nice guy, great guy, talented musician. I don't know what it is with the production of this record, but it sounds so muddy.
Yeah,
everything.
You saw who was involved.
So muddy,
right?
on this. Yep, Jonathan Davis is also here. The guitars sound so low in the mix and just muddied down to the point where I'm like, what is this guitar tone?
That's
I don't
the
think
corn.
it's necessarily the tone.
Corn effect
is the production. I can't stand it because there are so many songs on here that I'm like, wow, this would sound so much better with better production. But yeah, that's where I'm at with this. I had to put it number 4 because I do think songwriting wise, it's super solid, and the songs that are good on here are some top tier tracks. All right, Mike, let's see what you got.
Yeah,
he's gonna trash it.
Yeah, well, the fact that Jonathan Davis, that's the effect he has on the music. He muddled it up with his Korn inspired kind of muddy, kind of new metal roots and whatnot. But so this is where we began to fall off a cliff for me, like with a lot of the with a lot of the songs and whatnot. These are where like the pop elements start really shining through, and this is pretty run of the mill for me. The songs never really took off. They started off with some promise, and then they just kind of fell off, like Kyle was saying. Like the heaviest songs were teased early on when I was kind of like looking into the promotion of the album, and then just kind of what you got was a lot of just kind of just stuff that failed to really just take off and do anything. It definitely has that pop elements that are shining through, and I'm much more forgiving than I used to be about these pop elements being mixed in with metalcore, but we're lacking a lot of the metallic riffs, the sharp stuff that I think that it just doesn't make any sense why the guitars don't sound at all like a band who is a metalcore band who's matured and bringing other elements in. You could still do both. You can still have some metallic, like biting riffs alongside some more poppy kind of elements, but they just weren't allowing that to happen. And I just don't know what it is, but it definitely is trying to capitalize on whatever's happening in 2016 musically with a lot of these bands who've fallen apart and kind of came back together and are trying to like copy off other bands doing this right now. I was trying to think of a band that they sounded like at this point. Not coming to me, but I know there's actually I got an Avenged Sevenfold sound previously on the Death to Destiny, like with the way his vocals were. I almost sounded like M Shadows was on the track with him at one point, and I was like looking for it, and I was like, is that him? And but then by the top point you get to 2016, it's just I feel like they just lost their identity and were kind of just doing this new kind of sound. So for me, this is a 5 out of 7. It's just kind of like it's the in my opinion, it's the last album that has any elements of rock or sound on it that I enjoy to a slight bit before it just pretty much falls off the cliff here. So yeah, this is number 5 for me.
I got that one right.
There we go. But will he know what my number 7 is? Stay tuned.
Those were a toss up for me, but we'll get into that.
Oh God.
No, I mean this. You're not wrong, Mike, but I think that a lot of the riffs that you're talking about, I don't think it's not that they're necessarily not there. I think they're buried. I had such a hard time, even to this day. I've listened to this record quite a bit still, and I have such a hard time pulling out the guitar parts because of that production. They're so buried in there under like the ambient noise and the vocals and even the drums that I struggle to pick them out. And that's after listening to this for the past 5 years. So I do think that comes down to the production mostly.
All right. Sounds
we
good.
Keeping you up, JT, or?
Oh, you're good. Don't worry. Don't worry. We got
yawning.
We got 2 more to go. Don't worry, guys. What time is it now? I'm just kidding. I'm feeling good. Right. That's Asking Alexandria, the title album, their 5th album. Let's jump over to Like a House on Fire. I've gone a couple of times on first. Kyle, why don't you go first?
Yeah, I'll take it. So this one, you want to talk about pop influence, pop elements. This is by far the most pop influenced record. There's almost no metalcore present or metal in general. It's pretty much hard rock with elements of pop. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I do find quite a bit of these tracks to be enjoyable. Down to Hell is a great song. Like a House on Fire, the title track's pretty good. The Violence is probably the heaviest they go on here, and even that's not very heavy. I do think that it's a little bit longer than it needed to be. I think if they cut out a few songs out of here, it might have been a little bit better. Like It's Not Me, It's You I skipped that one all the time. Take Some Time I thought was awful. That's one of my least favorite tracks of theirs. There's a couple tracks that sound like they'd be Shinedown songs from the time period, and conveniently enough, this is around the time they were touring with Shinedown, which they still do pretty frequently. Like tracks like One Turns to None sounds like it would have been on Shinedown's Attention album. They don't want what we want and they don't care. Definitely a dig at the fans and the record label. They're like, no, you need to be heavy, and like, but we don't want to do that anymore, which is fair. I'm not going to fault them for that. If that's not the music you want to make anymore, I'd rather you make something you're passionate about than just throw together some half-assed heavy songs to be heavy. Lorazepam, I actually enjoy that one quite a bit. I do think
Lorazepam or the song? Oh, never mind.
Both. No. I think there are some. They, as a band, were going through some like weird times here. I thought they were a little bit cringy-ish. I don't know. Danny was wearing a lot of hats at this time. It's a little odd, but anyway, I think there's some tracks, if they cut it out, it would have been a better record with significantly less skips. I actually enjoyed the feature. I Don't Need You. It's a nice ballad there. I enjoyed that. But again, it's very pop-ish, pretty much out of nowhere. Like earlier I said that From Death to Destiny was where I wish they would have continued with their career. And I felt like the self-titled record was From Death to Destiny Light, where they were like, it was like Diet From Death to Destiny, where it's like, well, we're going to try that again. And then it didn't hold up to that for me personally. And this one was like, oh, we're just going to completely shift our sound, which, they were playing arenas with Shinedown and Papa Roach at the time. So it's not like it wasn't completely out of left field. I could definitely see they were going for those more big choruses and those big like stadium anthems, like those sing-alongs. And I think they had success with a couple of them on here. Other ones, a bit questionable. Production was a little bit better on here. Still not anywhere near as good as the production on the first 4 records, but It's definitely not as muddied here. Songwriting wise, unfortunately, didn't hold up as well for me. We got it at number 6.
All righty, Mike. Do you want to go or do you want me to go?
Yeah, I'll go.
Okay.
Yeah, like an album on fire. I'd like to light it on fire because it annoys me, and it's just a freaking boring pop like injected, like barely rock album that it just all of the it just feels like it's desperately trying to integrate that sound, all of the claps, the snaps, the beats, the trick, any other trick they can pull out to try and copy off some other freaking artist doing that at this time. Like it's such an unoriginal kind of encompassing of a certain kind of a sound that just doesn't lend any kind of interesting direction in the songs. It just felt like it's very confused. The guitars are rarely able to showcase anything, but just the backing rhythm to the vocals and stuff. And then, not a dig at the vocals, but this is kind of coming back to my comment about more depth and showcase of vocal doesn't necessarily elevate the music. If the music is subpar and the vocals are more showcasing their depth and their more the diversity of the style, unfortunately they can't elevate the barely kind of music that's happening on this CD. So it's just boring. It's just not my thing. And I like some pop. It's just not even the choruses or anything to like get stuck in your head, or just offer nothing but just space filler to me. So yeah, I can't say much about this one. This one and the next one, which spoiler, are the bottom of my ranking for this band. It's just like someone who has lost all of their creativity and like anything that they were willing to try to separate themselves from like an easy album that just kind of does everything that's being done already. This is it, you know what I mean? And it's just like unfortunately that at this point in the career, it's trying to set a standard for hey, look, I can do other genres of music because I'm mature. Even in his vocals, he says things like like things about certain things that are kind of hints towards that. One thing I hate about Danny Worsnop's like vocals is he kind of like he's such an immature person, because he'll be like, I'll never change, and he even says I'll never change, and I'll be the same, fuck you, basically, like I'm always going to be the same, and even if it means like I die and I'm dead, like I forget one of the songs I was hearing about, even In Death to Destiny, he was saying things like that. I think probably the first song of the album, he's saying like these kinds of things, and he's still saying them now, and it's just like it's just not a good album. So number 7. What a crash landing.
You're ruining Kyle's list.
Well, I was so confident in my predictions, and now they are just completely out the window. Before JT goes, though, I do want to build on something you said about his vocals, Mike, about how he goes into showcasing his vocals a lot and doesn't really match the music to an extent. I 100% agree with that. There's so many points here where he's showcasing that he's a good vocalist, which he is. There's no doubt about that. Like, there's no argument that he's not. But it has to be, and this is something that I hate a lot with a lot of vocalists that do this. Mariah Carey and Ariana Grande in the pop realm come to mind, where it's like, yes, I know you can do these long, complex vocal runs. No, I don't need to hear it every other line in your song. It takes away from the songwriting aspect when you do that. The only thing I wanted to say about that was I highly recommend checking out his solo record, the second one, Shades of Blue. The vocals on that and the songwriting, because the vocals actually match the songs on that one. That's his like R&B blues rock styled record. Phenomenal. it's great. The vocals shine while
Nice.
actually matching what is going on behind it, which definitely I agree. And some of the tracks, you're not all of them, but definitely some of them get off from that. So JT, why don't you go now?
It's my turn.
Number one.
This is my
you already
number.
said no.
This is the creme de la creme of Asking Alexandria. This is the best thing they've ever. No, it's not. No, it's not. Oh my god. So listen, I'm full disclosure, everyone. And for those of you who don't know me or listen to me, you should. But pop music is not that bad. I mean, yes, some people hate metal, some people hate pop, some people hate rap. It's all subjective. It's all good. Listen, if you're when Kyle first told me we were doing Asking Alexandria, and that, going up to from the very first album until this, I'm like, where's the metal? Where's the rock in this album? I'm like, what the? I mean, don't I put their Stand Up and Scream at number 7. So this should give you a pretty good indication of where I put this one. But so many questionable decisions, so many things. I was like, what is going on here? Like, what is? It was so many. Even from what I already listened to beforehand, I was like, what is going on? Like, just so many questions, so many stupid decisions left and right. Good God, help us all. Let's just be real, everyone. This is my number 6. Yes. Like a House on Fire is my number 6. It is. Let's listen. This is something that should not be held up like the 10 Commandments, right? This is something that should be held up and destroyed. 100%. Just take that CD and smash it. Swear to God. So annoying. Anyways,
JT stole my villainness here.
I'm being a villain for this album. Good God. I was like,
yes.
I'm curious to see what Kyle thinks where I put this, but this is my number 6.
I'll tell you exactly what afterwards where I thought you put all of them. Don't you worry.
Okay, just out of curiosity, because we got one more after this, right? So, but yeah, like I was like, what were it's like you're a metalcore, deathcore, hard rock, heavy metal, and hey, let's get those fingers snapping. Don't forget to like our review. I'm like, what are you doing with your life? you're Asking Alexandria. Like, what the hell? So many questionable choices.
And that brings me to my point of nobody wants a side project anymore because it costs you don't get enough money when you aren't using the name Asking Alexandria, waving it about, trying to sop up those leftover listens that you can get by using the name, instead of just like taking this complete altered sound, this complete skeleton of what was, and just making it something new. No, this is still Asking Alexandria. It's just like,
look at the album cover. For those who are listening to us, but look, the album cover looks like they were just high and they just drew something on the wall.
Yeah. It looks like
God.
hieroglyphics.
How stupid can you get?
But JT, look at the left top corner. There are boobies on the cover.
Well, that changes everything. If there's boobies on the cover, that's okay.
There you go.
That means it's good. Good art.
1 out of 7. There you go.
No. Hold on.
Well, it looks like something from like
the art is a 1 out of 10 or like a 10 out of 10, whatever you want to call it. That's great art. Don't get me wrong, but it does not fit the album context whatsoever. The artist should get
it looks like something from
every album.
It looks like some of an old metal band, like from like the 70s or like probably the 70s. I would say, like something like Black Sabbath, right? It doesn't look like something from an Asking Alexandria album, like a album on fire. Yeah,
it looks like Black Sabbath. Like it looks like Black Sabbath's 10th album that never got released and they just threw it out there.
It was produced by Matt. Bad. Put this thing back in the garbage.
At least Jonathan Davis wasn't near this one.
Oh God.
No. I just want to hear him do that on the album.
Anything else for this piece of shit?
No,
this is an easy.
Move it on.
I skipped past songs and I had to go back and force myself to listen to them, like tape my hand to the to so I couldn't try to change. Like, you know what I mean? Like I was like a mental patient. Like, all right, cuff him.
Was
He's
there
trying to
anything on
gouge his
this?
eyes out.
Was there any redeeming songs on this one for you? No.
It was Justin
No,
Bieber's cameo. I'm just
not at
kidding. Anyways.
all. I wish I could. Oh God, no. Oh, Grace Grundy. No, I have no idea. No, it all just sounded like one big freaking lump of Yeah.
A lump of
Sorry.
poop.
I wish-
But the boobies on the album cover are
I could
great.
say some more.
The boobies on the album cover, though.
What?
Anyways, I
There you
digress.
go.
There you go.
That's what makes good album art.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Anyways,
Sells,
let's.
but who's buying?
Right now, talking about good album art, JT, let's pull up the next one.
Yes.
There we go.
Your
It doesn't
your
get
connection is
much
unstable.
Better than that.
Oh,
Did
no.
you see that? It just
No,
said your
what happened?
connection is unstable.
I think that's just you, Mike.
Wow. Yeah, I think it might just be yours.
No.
But let's. Okay, wait up. But so the last album we're going to talk about tonight is their most recent release from 2021. See what's on the inside. Can I just start off by saying that the album cover is so unoriginal, so uncreative, and just like, hey, let's just take a piece of paper and rip it.
But vinyl record, it looked like vinyl.
Yeah, well, fair.
That's
but
the thought process.
I thought it was a finger at first. Did anyone else think it was a finger?
I
Like,
thought it was
I
too. It was a finger.
I never
was
saw
just
it, but you're
like,
right.
I wanted to give this album the finger. You know?
Have you seen the deluxe edition cover that was just released?
No, I haven't.
It's literally just the colors inverted.
Oh my god! Hold on one second.
FML.
I just want to see this really quick. Sorry, we're going off a side tangent for a sec.
You might have typed in deluxe.
That's literally it.
No, that's an EP. You're gonna have to type in deluxe.
What is it called? It's called
See what's on the inside, deluxe. There you go.
Oh my god,
It's literally just the colors inverted.
Mike! How original is that?
It's horrible, man. It's just something seriously. Yeah, I mean, talk about writing one in. Like film, just like, oh, let's write it in. Like, it's sure, who cares? Yeah.
It almost looks like a dog dick. But anyways, I'm not talking about. Sorry, someone had to say it at one point.
Do you have a lot of experience in seeing that, or
No. My girlfriend's dog.
back in my days when I worked at the old kennel?
Anyways, I digress. So let's talk about this latest attempt of an album. See what's on the inside.
I'll take this one, and I think I'll be the nicest to it, probably, or maybe not. Actually, we'll see. But significantly better than as an album. This is significantly better than like A House on Fire. I don't think it's a perfect record by any stretch of the terms. Alone Again is by far the best thing on here. That song is actually incredible, like without a doubt the best. The fact that the bonus track Miles Away did not make the cut is a travesty. That song is phenomenal. I think it was actually a outtake from like House on Fire that Sumerian didn't let them put on the record because it was too personal and sad, and they finally released it here. It's a shame it didn't make either of them. It would have made it a substantially better record. I don't think there's many bad songs on here. I think there's a lot of just mid tracks on here that I could take or leave. The good songs are really good. Alone Again is great. Faded Out I like a lot. See What's on the Inside I like quite a bit, and You've Made It This Far are really great. Other than that, the rest I'm just iffy on. The only one I probably just straight up don't like at all is Find Myself. I think it's pretty corny. Just I never enjoyed it. I will say props to him. This is the best record production wise that Matt Good has done with the band. If they continue with this style of production, I'll be fine with it. But again, this is strictly a hard rock record. If you go into this expecting any kind of metalcore, you're going to be disappointed. But I think at this point in their career, no one's going into their music thinking that anymore, which in some ways is a shame. I think there's a This is why I was saying earlier, From Death to Destiny was the perfect middle ground between what they were and what they would go on to become in the modern day. They mixed those classic rock sounds with the reckless and relentless riffs and all that. Like, look at a song like White Line Fever from Death to Destiny. That is pretty much did way better what most of the tracks on here were trying to do in 2021. And they did it better years prior. With that said, I still do enjoy this record. It's not a bad record, but in the grand scheme of their releases, it's toward the lower half. It's not going to blow them up and be a huge record again. It's just not going to happen. They're teasing. They've done this for every album since Danny's come back, but they're teasing that the next record they're already working on is heavier, and it's supposedly the heaviest thing that they've done, mixing the heavy with the melodic guitars that they incorporated on this record, which is one thing that I will really hand it to them on this. Guitar-wise, this might be their best one in terms of melodic guitars and solos. It's really the only one that exists on. You had your heavy riffs on the others, but this actually gave them a chance to show what they could do in terms of writing a melodic guitar part, and they did it very well. I would like to see that incorporated with the heavier aspects. If they don't want to go heavy again, I'm fine with that, but I'd at least prefer something more along the lines of the self-titled record, maybe with production closer to this, or tracks more like Alone Again that really have that big anthemic vibe going on. So for me, it's somewhere in the middle of the self-titled and Like a House on Fire. So number 5.
All right, Mike, you want to go?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, well, first of all, it was released on my birthday, 2021. How dare you try to out show me my day. I also think it's hilarious that the first album released under Better Noise Music. It's kind of better noise. It's not just noise anymore. It's just like a little bit better at being noise. But this album sounded a lot the same. Special noise, yes. Special noise. Yeah, this album sounded a lot the same to me. I was listening to this actually in the car on the way home from my grandma's 103rd birthday on Saturday, and I was like, hey, let's give this, let's listen to this. And they're actually my favorite song, if you want to bring up that song listing there, J Tizzle McNizzle. But I think it was called Never Gonna Learn was actually my favorite track on this whole album. And I actually was like, wow, this is actually pretty good. Although a lot of songs sound the same on it, this actually, it's not a horrible album. It's actually got some what I really find a lot of kind of common ground on is like the feeling of the lyrics. Like they're really cliche about finding yourself and kind of like all this kind of like, who am I and this and that, like a lot of this kind of learning from your mistakes, all this kind of stuff, like but I feel like they're definitely relatable, and by far this album is so much better than that dumpster fire at the bottom of the the House on Fire or whatever the hell it's called. But yeah, this one is, it's not a horrible album. It's good for what it is, but if you put it up against the Asking Alexandria kind of name and what you to expect, it falls very short. So it's like good for what it is. It's got some interesting choruses. It's got some interesting sounding songs on it, and it keeps you semi involved, where you begin to hear the same notes hit. My girlfriend Tracy was listening to it, and she was like, I can't tell which song I'm listening to, and I was just like, yeah, same. And I was just like, they're just kind of they all hit the same notes, the same. It's like somebody who wrote an entire album going, instead of trying an album full of different songs, let's just try to capitalize on something and hope that, by writing one good one and having them all sound like that this will be a smash hit. And it definitely falls short for that. But I actually didn't listen to the deluxe edition. I didn't realize we were listening to that for that one. So
no,
yeah,
most of it was just acoustic version, so you didn't miss much. The only thing, Miles Away, I think, is the only one out of those that stands out to me. It was released before the deluxe edition on they made a single out of Never Gonna Learn and gave it like an EP, and that's where they released New Devil and Miles Away a few months back. Definitely recommend checking that one out.
Also, in this moment, terrible.
Oh, they're terrible. Her part on New Devil kills this.
Terrible.
Awful.
Yeah.
But no, I agree with you though about things sounding the same. The only one that I think doesn't sound the same, Miles Away, doesn't sound the same, but it wasn't written for this record, so it makes sense. But Alone Again is the only one that I think has a unique sound to it. Once you get past Alone Again, every other song sounds the same. Tracks 11 just sound like you said, we wrote one song and we're gonna just change the lyrics and a couple melodies here and there.
Yeah, right. And actually, Alone Again, I didn't love Alone Again, but I do agree to your point that it did sound the most unique to the whole album. And I think that's kind of interesting that, like, when I heard that song, I was like meh on it, but I was like, okay, maybe the rest of the album is going to sound like this, which I'm not huge on. And then when it didn't, some of the other songs started coming in, then I was like, oh, like it's going to sound different throughout each song. And then it didn't, it just sounded the same. And like it's just kind of funny. It's almost reverse. It was like if everything else sounded like Alone Again, I was going to be like more meh than I actually was. But
I would have loved that. I would have been had the inverse reaction.
Yeah, we're always like opposites, so
but what about Mr.
All know in this channel,
JT?
If Kyle loves something, I mostly hate it.
That's true.
So for me, yeah, you guys are like yin and yang, but you're opposite at the same time. It's pretty funny. But I will.
It works good though.
What's that?
It works good though for the channel because, like, they like if someone hates, someone loves it, like delivers a different perspective on something.
Yeah, no, that's true though. So it's funny, given how bad Like a House on Fire was literally just like Mike said, it was an album on fire. It didn't know what it was doing. It probably just caught itself on fire at that point. But I will say this was a step up, but not a step up to a point where it's like from death to destiny, or like Reckless and Relentless. It wasn't quite that, step up. It wasn't like that jump of like, wow, we went from here, but now we're here. It was not that at all. But it was a step, I believe, in the right direction for them. It nowhere near like where they started out. For no, don't get me wrong, but for what it was worth, it was definitely like, it was not a bad album. It was not like, oh, this is pure this is like Maroon 5's Jordy. Like, it was just that bad, It was not that. It was not. Which, by the way, check out a review of that, because we bash the living hell out of that. But anyways, this had a couple. I mean, I would say the track listing, as far as like some of my favorite tracks, the first 6, or if you take out the intro, I'd say tracks 2 through 6 were actually just they were really good, but they weren't like, would I go back to them more often? Maybe not. But at least, I didn't find myself hating on this like I hated on like a House on Fire or whatever, or like, a wake up call like the first album was for me. But for me, I mean, this is a good, if you're looking for a hard rock album that's not quite metalcore, not quite, deathcore and all that stuff. But if you're looking for just an album to listen to that like is like really quite a little bit on the harder edge side, check out this one. I would recommend this to someone who would say, like, hey, this is their most recent release. It's not quite everything they've ever done, but just check it out for what it's worth. I mean, I would do that in that recommendation of it, but that's just me. And I didn't listen to the deluxe edition. I'm actually gonna have to go back and listen to the acoustic tracks, because I do have an acoustic like rock playlist where like I have bands that I listen to, like Blink-182 did that, the Bored to Death acoustic, or Good Riddance by Green Day, stuff like that. I take the acoustic tracks and I put them into like a acoustic playlist because they're hard rock bands or punk bands, but they release an acoustic track, I'll add it to that playlist. So I got to listen to these and see if I can add those into my playlist, if you will.
They're pretty good versions. They're nothing like too special, but they're pretty good.
All right.
Faded Out was a weird choice to do that with, and Find Myself I don't really enjoy in the first place, so it's
okay.
But the others are pretty good.
All right. Like I said, I'll have to check them out for my own, like as far as the acoustic goes. But I'll add the acoustic ones into my play. It's believe it or not, it's called the Coffee House playlist. So I call it that, whatever. But because it's all quiet songs. But yeah, I mean,
for the Find.
Go ahead.
Find Myself was the regular track, and then the acoustic one was Play Peekaboo with myself. I'm trying to find myself and whatnot. So yeah. So yeah.
The fact that Mike,
it's for their baby fans. So.
The fact that Mike just said peekaboo just made my day. And for the day I've had, it just made my day. Straight up. Oh god. But I mean, yeah. So bottom line, I mean, I put this in number 4 for what it was worth, because that's my only spot left, as you guys know. But I really, it's not a bad album, but it does have some. It all kind of does sound the same, like you guys said. It's true, yeah. But I mean, before what it's worth, though, it's not bad. It's not like it's not like Metallica and Lulu. Let's not go there, But Kyle and I talked about that. That was rough. But yeah, no, this is not that. This is actually pretty standard for what it is. So that's what I would say. That's it, right?
Yeah,
that's the.
I did mention my album was 6, right? I did mention this was 6. I don't know if I did.
Right,
okay, good.
Yep,
good. I just want to make sure I said it out loud.
So,
yeah.
Why don't we? Any other concluding thoughts for the band before we go to our ranking at all? Do you guys want to say anything else before we go to the band? Our ranking, excuse me.
Yeah,
I think I do.
Yeah, Mike, you want to go first?
I'll say one major drawback for this album, all these albums, this whole band. I don't know if anyone really knows me well enough, but I hate bands whose lyrics are extra explicit, and like a lot of the first albums, it was like shock value kind of like stuff, and I hate that kind of stuff. It really
you didn't like Morte Dabo?
No, not at all. No, not at all. That's the kind of stuff I hate, and it almost like it's a reason I hated some of Slipknot's like cringy lyric stuff. Like I get it, it's part of their persona, but a lot of the times it's just over the top. And in this band, like it's a major drawback for me is when it's like it's like when you see someone yelling at someone and they're like screaming curse words and they sound really stupid because of the way they're saying things. I get that feeling from this band when I'm listening to those first albums when he's just like, I hope you freaking die and you like you blow up or your blood or this or that, and it's just cringy, like it makes him look unintelligent, so like yeah, just overall it's been a major reason I never went into this band, because I just heard their lyrics and heard their breakdowns and was like, I'm done. Like I'm just done. I have no reason to search anymore from this band. They don't show much intelligence, and they did show some good things in certain albums. So I'm glad I was able to take a look and sift. It's like sifting through the dollar bin at the Walmart. You're just like, you're like, oh, it's the Wiggles. Oh, here's a cooking DVD from 1985. I don't know why it's in here. They re-released it. Great.
The fact that you brought up the Wiggles.
Peekaboo with the Wiggles. I don't know. Like maybe that's the next.
What are you, 5?
Album. But yeah, like you're sifting through the dollar bin at the Walmart and you find yourself something that's like you can take away and say, okay, this proves it, and that's fun sometimes. Sometimes you got to look through.
I'd like to give my recap next, if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
So, given the fact that I have never even heard of this band until Kyle said we're going to do this for my birthday, I was like, you know what? All right, we'll give it a shot. And oh my God, it is for lack of a better word, it has been a journey for me personally. I feel like I lost my virginity all over again. This is crazy. This was just so intense. It was so crazy. Like I was like, what?
Lost it?
Wait, what? What are you talking about?
Lost
Jordy, what? No, we have to end the stream soon. But like, but seriously, I actually, truthfully, I enjoyed doing this. This was a very interesting career discography to break down. I got it right, Mike. There you go.
Kind of question mark. Kind of slightly discography.
Oh my god. Anyways, but I'm really glad we did this, and I thought it was actually a pretty solid thing that we did tonight. I'm looking forward to what we do next week. Kyle, what are your final takeaways from asking Alexandria? Let's say something else for a second. No way.
Yeah, so I'll give my final takeaways, and I'll pull up the everyone's final rankings, and I'll also let you know what I thought you guys, what my predictions for you would have been. Really, like I said in the beginning, Asking Alexandria is since high school been one of my all-time favorite bands. I still are to this day, even with the more recent lackluster releases. I think their back catalog holds up enough to make up for that, and even on those, there's a bunch of tracks that I think do stand out enough that are excellent. I don't think they're not as big as they were back in the day, but most bands don't hold up like that. One thing that I think the fan base needs to understand and needs to just accept, and I accepted a long time ago, and I'm fine with it personally, but we're probably not getting another Reckless and Relentless. It's most likely never happening. We're also probably not getting another From Death to Destiny. And that's okay. Because at the end of the day, if they put out something that they didn't have passion in, it's going to end up just sounding flat. Danny has said multiple times that he doesn't like looking back on the first two records. Bad place in his life, drugs, alcohol, all that. He was pretty messed up for quite a while. They don't want to make that music anymore. That's fine. I'd rather them do that, because that's what made The Black my lowest rating. Was I didn't feel like the passion was there. I felt like they were like, oh, well, Danny's gone. Now we can go back to writing this brutal, heavy stuff with this new guy. And then we're going to talk about how angry we are at Danny and blah, blah, blah. It just didn't come out very inspired. So I think everyone just needs to get on the same page. Stop going into an Asking Alexandria album release expecting to hear something that heavy again, because it's never happening again. If it does happen, I will eat a shoe. I will go on live stream here. I will blend up a shoe and I will eat it, because I am that confident it will never happen. With that said,
nice.
I'm going to share everyone's ratings.
Oh boy.
We'll start with mine here. So we got, for me,
I saw him already now.
Reckless and Relentless, From Death to Destiny, Stand Up and Scream, of course, the three classics, Asking Alexandria, See What's on the Inside, Like a House on Fire, and then The Black, mostly because, like I said, it doesn't feel like an Asking Alexandria record. It feels like a whole other band. Now, JT, for you, we had From Death to Destiny, Asking Alexandria, Reckless and Relentless, See What's on the Inside, The Black, Like a House on Fire, and Stand Up and Scream. Now, you want to hear what I had predicted for you?
Do it.
I had almost to a T a reverse order of their discography. I thought your favorite was going to be See What's on the Inside, then Like a House on Fire, then Asking Alexandria, then From Death to Destiny, then The Black, then Reckless and Relentless, and then Stand Up and Scream at the worst. So I had The Black and Stand Up and Scream right.
Wow.
My main reasoning behind that was I knew you weren't going to dig the heavy stuff. I knew that wasn't going to be your cup of tea. And I thought once you got to their later parts of their career, I thought for sure that would have been the top. I thought
But you were wrong.
without a doubt that was going to be the top 3 at least.
And that's what's good about JT. JT kind of like, although you think, okay, JT likes more mellow music or more less hard-hitting music, so he's gotta love this because it's mellow music. And it's like, no, like he can decipher like between something that's like trying to grab at like the average fan who likes kind of pop music or whatever. It's like, oh, you like pop music, so you automatically like this. Like, no, like I can tell the difference between your rendition of pop music and pop music that I actually enjoy. So it's like just goes to show you, just because you can do something doesn't mean you'll do it well. Like guys who shouldn't be writing pop music are writing pop music right now. I don't know if that makes any sense, but within them, the true self is a metal person who's trying to be something that they really aren't or can't do well. Let's put it that way. They can be it, they just can't do it well. And they're like, I'm gonna prove you wrong. I could do a good album just as good as this generic pop artist, and they fall flat on their face. And it's like, not everybody can pull it off, and I'm not saying it's easy to do, but I'm saying that you can try to pull it off, but in the end, who you truly are will always be, your shining kind of attribute.
I love you, Mike.
Yep. And
and
now for the ranking that made me the maddest, and I'll explain why in a minute. Mike, you got From Death to Destiny, Reckless and Relentless, The Black, boo, Stand Up and Scream, Ask Alexandria, See What's on the Inside, and then your favorite, Like a House on Fire.
Boo that out.
Let me explain why this makes me mad. This makes me mad because my initial prediction was 100% spot on, but right before we started, I second guessed myself and switched to the ones I got wrong. My prediction was Reckless and Relentless.
So you tried to do the reverse thing.
Well,
right,
kind of. So my prediction for you was Reckless and Relentless at number 1, and then From Death to Destiny at number 2. My initial reaction was the way you had it, but then I switched it. Then
funny.
Then I had The Black, then Stand Up and Scream, then Ask Alexandria, and then I put Like a House on Fire because I thought the slight heavier breakdown in a couple of the songs might put it up there for you. And then I put See What's on the Inside. But even those two, my initial predictions were reversed, and then I changed it. So I had yours 100% spot on initially, and then I changed it.
Dude, first listen, Reckless and Relentless was number 1. First listen. And then when I listened to From Death to Destiny, I literally had them neck and neck to a point where I had Reckless and Relentless just a tiny bit higher than I had than the From Death to Destiny. After several listens to From Death to Destiny, I realized that the breakdowns and the parts that I disliked about Reckless and Relentless that didn't go away were drawing me down, because I would go to listen to it again and I'd be like, it takes me out. And then when I would listen to From Death to Destiny, those pulling elements weren't there, and I was just like, this is a no-brainer for me that it would score higher, because at no point do I feel like I lose the momentum of this album. It kind of comes through, obviously you said there's a couple down songs in the middle, but it kind of, it's a high peak, and the valley isn't that low, and then the peaks are high again. So whereas Reckless and Relentless has some high peaks and some low valleys, more so, that I feel hurt it in the overall scheme.
Yeah,
fair enough.
That's fair.
Yeah, we need to end every stream with a sheesh as part of our closing thing. Kyle's like, I refuse.
I don't want to end it that way. How could he do such a thing? No, whatever. Sheesh.
That's a low sheesh.
Sheesh. I don't know, man. I give up at this point. But we want to thank you all for watching and listening. However you enjoyed us, we actually had a lot of people join us actually tonight on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching. But thank you so much for watching, listening. However you enjoyed us tonight. So don't forget to follow us on our on Instagram, Twitter, and like us on Facebook, and follow and subscribe to this YouTube channel. We do this all the time on YouTube. We did it tonight on Tuesday, but yesterday was the big man's birthday, so we had to do this tonight. So that's okay. And
Happy birthday, Kyle.
Yes, happy birthday, Kyle.
Oh, thank you.
Woo!
I'm old.
Woo! Cheers!
A big cheers for Kyle.
We're having way too
I'm
much
so
fun.
old. I already have some back pain going on right now.
Oh, man, me too, man. I'm telling you right now, I got that back pain
That's
too.
because you've been holding this stream up on your back. So
Literally,
you know,
my
that's
back
why your
pain
back
started
hurts.
way before that.
well, look, but like I said, guys, thank you so much for watching, listening, however you enjoyed us, and tune in next week for another episode of Career Retrospectives right here on the Super Review Show. So stay safe, take care, and sheesh!